The Leafs take down Tampa in Matthews' return to the lineup. We'll break down the win and tee up tonight's game against Bedsy and the Blackhawks. You're listening to the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.
You're Locked On Maple Leafs, your daily podcast on the Toronto Maple Leafs. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome into the Locked On Leafs podcast, a daily Maple Leaf-centric podcast hosted by myself, Mike DiStefano, and my co-host, Dave Morisuti. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. There's a Leaf game tonight down at Scotiabank Arena. Anyone wants to go down and check out Connor Bedard and company, use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. Get yourself $20 off those tickets. What's happening, Dave? How's your Monday?
Feeling pretty good. It's now we're getting ready for the belly of the beast now. Like, we had no games to talk about. Now we have a bunch of games to talk about.
Yeah, December's going to be loaded. Absolutely loaded. You had December into Jan, and it's just like a big stretch of games here for Toronto coming up every other night. Every other night, the Maple Leafs are going to be in action. So, there'll be plenty to talk about, plenty to break down. Like we said, there's a game later tonight. Connor Bedard comes to town, so that's always going to be fun. So we'll preview that one. But let's look back on Saturday. The Leafs with a nice bounce-back victory over the Tampa Bay Lightning. They've now won both games against the Lightning. No Kucherov in that game, though. He was, a late scratch with an injury in that game. But whatever. Leafs got their superstar back with Austin Matthews. He factored in early. He factored in often. What did you make the Leafs 5-3 win over Tampa?
It was going really, really nicely until about 4 minutes left in the game. Then it was like, really, really just want to make this interesting. Also, thanks to the refs for an absolutely atrocious call that gave Tampa more life than they needed to end that game. But I mean, 5-on-5, that like one of their better games I think I've seen from them 5-on-5 in a while, like in this last stretch, because we talked about how much they were struggling to score at 5-on-5. I think having Matthews back, you see the ability to spread things out more. Teams now have to focus on more than just Marner and Tavares. I like the way this, when you get Austin Matthews back, I think people, I'm sure many were hoping that he was scoring his first game back, but I think his impact, his return alone provided a bit of that spark at 5-on-5.
Yeah, absolutely it did. And I mean, 2 apples, can't be upset. It's not like he didn't find the score sheet. He helped this team set up a couple of goals. But yeah, I thought that the team played well for, 55 minutes of the hockey game, and then it got a little squirrely. And even after the game, Craig Berube was like, yeah, I thought the net empty. We were a little too cautious there for his liking. And I would imagine a lot of people would agree in those final couple of minutes, but they pulled it out. Joseph Woll, I thought, had himself a pretty good game. He made some nice stops early and throughout the hockey game. I think there was 8 high danger saves at 5-on-5 he was able to make. So, when tested, he was there ready to make the stops. And ultimately, it's another good win for the Leafs, another 2 points that they can bank and add to their totals. In terms of, the 3 stars, Dave, like, how are you ranking your 3 stars? We'll get to that first, 'cause there's a lot to do today. So we'll get to the 3 stars. So who's your first star?
I went with Joseph Woll.
Yeah, me too.
Dude was unreal. Even if you take even the final 5 minutes, like, the Leafs were just under siege. And yeah, they scored a couple goals. First off, Cam Atkinson just parking himself right beside the net. Just cheap. So cheap.
Yeah,
but
I forgot he was in Tampa.
I did too. I'm like,
Cam
Atkinson?
Yeah.
Even Connor Sheary, I forgot, was there too, because he got called up for this game. But I thought Joseph Woll was stellar, right? Especially early on. Tampa was pouring it, especially first period. The Leafs were outshot quite a bit. and like not just outshot, they were good chances.
Yeah.
And Woll was just really steady in front of the net, tracking the puck very well. Tampa was trying to get him moving side to side, and he was doing a good job of just, whatever was coming his way, there weren't like a lot of second, third chance opportunities. And if there was, he was pretty steady on them.
Yeah, so the Leafs gave up 10 scoring chances at 5-on-5 in the opening frame. 4 of them were considered high danger chances. But overall, they didn't give up a whole lot, right? I think, 8 high danger chances throughout the entire game. So half of them came in the first period there. But yeah, he stepped up big, and we talked about it last time. Like, this is now 3 real quality starts that he's put together here back to back to back. Well, not like Stolarz has played a game in between, but his 3 consecutive starts for him, and it's like, okay, he might be starting to take back his role a little bit. He's definitely closing the gap, and I remember we talked about it over the weekend, and we talked about it heading into this game, and we said, has he taken the 1A job back? And weren't ready to say yes yet. Still want to see a couple of games. After this one, he's a lot closer. He's definitely getting closer to claiming that 1A role back for the Maple Leafs. It's not anything against Stolarz, but Joseph Woll was always supposed to be the guy. It was just, can he remain healthy? And, well, let's knock on some wood here, but he's been healthy and reliable since he returned from that early scare early on in the season. Your second star, Dave.
I went with John Tavares.
Nice.
We talked so much about, there was always a talk about his decline and things like that. The offense hasn't really been there. Mike, who leads the Leafs in even strength points this year?
John Tavares?
Yes, sir.
Wow. That's impressive and surprising considering he's been a power play merchant for the last 3 years on this team.
I know he only had 1 goal in this game, but I thought, again, that ended up being a crucial goal for this team. And again, he's been so good this year that it's funny how some people were ready to just let him go. And I think that was obviously going to be a bit of a weird thing to do, considering he's still a pretty decent player on this team. I know he's not an $11 million player, but he's not also trash either.
No.
I don't think people were saying he was trash, but I just think he's stepped up in a way that I think maybe some weren't expecting with Matthews out. He's taken on first line. People were talking about this guy as a 3C to start,
or a winger,
or a winger, and he's got. I'm just looking at it right now. 17 even strength points. I think actually that's now tied him with Marner. I think him and Marner are tied.
Mm-hmm.
But I think he also has 7 even strength goals. So that gives him a little bit of a bump there. But
that if you do per 60 minutes, I'm sure it's better than Marner.
Yeah. Again, just solid player. Plus minus is in the green. Usually it's in the red. He's doing it at both ends of the ice, for this team, and he's leading. He's leading without needing the C on his chest.
Yeah, he's leading on the ice, and look, that's what he's done for many years. And a lot of us weren't sure what that contract was going to look like at the end of the term. Is he an $11 million player, like you said? No, probably not. But he's still providing value, and he's having a really nice season early on. We're a quarter way through, and he's still is playing at this level, right? It hasn't really dropped off. He's been a beacon of consistency night in and night out. And I think that's something, that you can hang your hat on if you're Tavares and if you're the Maple Leafs, and just say, all right, if this is what we're going to get from this guy each and every night, I like it. I like what we're seeing out of Johnny T. So another great game, scored another goal, obviously. And again, we talked about it the other day. I think it's just, he fits the system so much better with Craig Berube than he did with Sheldon Keefe, right? There was just so much more pace in Keefe's game, where here it's just very straight line, and that's what Tavares wants to do. Straight line, go to the net, let's create chances, create quality looks, goals. He's always been up in the top 5 to 10 when it comes to high danger shots on net. So now the whole point is to create those and finish on those, and he's been doing that all year long, and obviously did it the other night against Tampa Bay. All right, your third star, Dave.
A lot to choose from, but I'm going with Matthew Knies.
Same.
First game back, scores. And
Quick.
that was a beautiful tip.
Yeah.
In front.
Nice tip.
Yeah. And he's right back in the lineup, contributes right away. Right. He's hitting the ground running. They understand, Matthews, they understood that they needed to come out strong in the return, because you're bringing in two guys who haven't played in a bit, and there's going to be rust, but no, it looked like there was zero rust on these guys, especially Matthew Knies. When you get a hit when you get a hit like that too, sometimes you can be a little shy a bit. No, he was right in the dirty areas again, just as if nothing had happened.
And I even liked when they asked him, what he thought about the hit. He's like, clean hit. I got to keep my head up. That's hockey. He's expecting that level of physicality and contact. And I mean, you should be. It's hockey. So, that just goes to prove that the guy's a warrior, and he's hoping to dish out some licks like that to some other guys. So he doesn't want to talk ill of it, knowing that, he's kind of hunting for the same style of open ice checks himself. But yeah, he was great. I mean, just, the board battles, puck battles that he's able to win, in on the forechecks and establishing zone pressure. He just is really, really having himself a quality season for the Maple Leafs. Mm-hmm. And now he's on first unit power play, which, it should help him put up even more points than I think we anticipated at the beginning of the year. It's going to be an expensive contract this summer, but we do not need to get into that type of negative talk right now. On the other side, let's come back and get to some injury roundups, because one player left that game, did not return, and might not be good to go for tonight. There's also an update on Pacioretty, Domi, and the rest of the hurt crew for the Maple Leafs. So we'll get a little injury roundup next, and then we'll tee up tonight's game. Leafs Blackhawks on Amazon Prime, Dave. Amazon Prime. Aye. We'll get to all that next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NHL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NHL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the Locked On Network. Today's episode is also brought to you by Game Time. Game Time is a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands of tickets. They curate and make it easier for you to save on sports, concerts, comedy, theater, whatever you're looking to get tickets to. You can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you even purchase it, so you know exactly what your view is going to look like. And they've got the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Want to grab some Leaf tickets tonight? Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. The Locked On Leafs podcast continues with Mike DiStefano and Dave Morisuti. We got new episodes coming out each and every weekday, Monday through Friday. It's all Leafs all the time. Free and available wherever you get a podcast for you on-the-go audio listeners, and also available for free up on YouTube. All right, Dave. So one of the I guess, bad things that came from, one of the cons from the win over the Tampa Bay Lightning the other day, was Jake McCabe taking a puck to the head and he did not return to the game and did not practice today, which is kind of interesting because after the game, Craig Berube made it sound like all was good, no issues, he should be okay, but then didn't practice ahead of tonight's Blackhawks game. Any concern there for you?
Yeah, I mean, especially the play itself, right? Getting hit in the head with the shot, not exactly comforting to see. I was like, like really, you can't, like now we got to get it on the blue line too. After we dealt with all the injuries with the forwards, and like out of all the defensemen, like there's one pairing you don't want to lose any defenseman from. It's that Tanev McCabe pairing because it changes so much for this team. So Berube did say that he is day to day. He will sit tonight but I think he'll be fine. Craig.
Precautionary. It's a precautionary scratch tonight.
Hey, Craig, you thought he would be fine on Saturday. Now you think you're going to be fine again on Monday.
Dude, are you surprised? Are you surprised?
No, I'm not surprised.
How have the Leafs handled injuries and spoken of injuries all season long? Everything is okay. Just brush it off. Next thing you know, Matthews is missing an entire month of the season. I'm not surprised at all. Hopefully it's true though. Hopefully it is just precautionary. But taking a puck to the head. And the thing that sucks too is like Jake McCabe is like that Jake Muzzin replacement for this team. And we know what Jake Muzzin's career kind of ended up derailing into after all the, couple of head injuries there. So again, taking precautions when it comes to head injuries is safe, obviously. But hopefully, it's not because there's symptoms of anything and it is just flat out precautionary.
Yeah, I don't mind if it's precautionary for one game, but if this becomes, he may need another game, it's just like, what are we doing here? Like
that's when it becomes problematic.
Yeah, I'm going to the game on Wednesday against the Predators. If I hear that Jake McCabe needs another day, I'm gonna be like, the heck? Like it's like, what are you doing to me here, Craig? Right. I get it. You got to be careful with these guys, but at the same time, people are gonna start questioning what exactly the team is, how the team is operating with these injuries. So.
Well, there are a few more updates to get to, Dave. So we know that obviously we're sitting here talking about Jake McCabe, head injury, not going to play tonight for precautionary reasons. Yanni Hakanpaa also not playing tonight. Why? Because he's been placed on injured reserve, Dave. Yanni Hakanpaa placed on injured reserve. Now, I believe this is more of a paper move, if I'm being completely honest. Like, it's a situation where he hasn't played in a couple of days, and Craig Berube came out and said it's just managing a knee injury. But for him to only be placed on IR as opposed to LTIR, he already hasn't played in a week. Like it's been a couple of weeks since he hasn't played, so he could get activated literally tomorrow or Wednesday and play in that game. So it's kind of more of a paper move to give you an extra roster spot to call somebody up with this injury now to Jake McCabe. So yeah, I think that there's clearly an issue here when it comes to Hakanpaa, though. Like there's a reason why I guess he's not playing tonight with McCabe out of the lineup, and they need to bring up a guy like Marshall Refi or possibly Philip Myers, chance for him to get into the game. I believe I did see Myers was skating alongside Riley in practice today. So we'll see what all comes of it. But yeah, Yanni Hakanpaa hasn't played in a couple of weeks and now lands on injured reserve. Again, not exactly sure. We knew that there was a concern with this knee going into the season. Remember the report in the summer from Steve
Simmons.
Steve Simmons, thank you. That he had been told through his sources that there were thoughts out of Dallas that Hakanpaa would never be able to play again because of the knee injury. Yeah. And, the Leafs decided after doing some medical work that they felt that it was good to go. And he played like a week and then hasn't really played. And now they're managing the injury. And now he, has been out for a couple of weeks. And it's kind of weird what's going on here with Hakanpaa too. Kind of a weird situation there as well.
Yeah, it is. And like, again, I think this also, as you mentioned, has more to do with getting bodies up because they just don't have
Well,
a lot of
I
roster space.
well, but then I just started thinking about it though. Like, if he was healthy to play, he'd be playing
Yeah,
like
that's
over
true.
Myers. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like that's where it
Actually,
does
it's a
kind
good
of.
point. I think this. Yeah, I think they just want to be careful. I again, if it was something more long term, probably be an LTIR situation. Honestly, I totally even like forgot about a Hakanpaa for a second. Like, I'm not
Because he hasn't
like it's
played in like a couple of weeks.
right.
They've just been rolling with Timmins.
Yeah, so again, like it's one of those things where I think nobody's really asked about Hakanpaa. I guess if he hasn't been like really doing much, and why hasn't he been playing?
Well, team's been
Um,
winning too, right? And Timmins, for whatever reason, like has the trust of the coach. He likes his competitiveness, I suppose. But
yeah.
I don't know.
So I think yeah, I think you know what you it's November. Well, now it's December. Sorry, like it's still early in the year. You don't want this to be a long term thing, whatever it is he's dealing with. I mean, his knee injury. So you don't want this to be something that like let's not push it if it's not totally right. And yeah, I mean, it'd be nice if he was the one stepping up in the situation, but if he's not good to go, I'd rather them just get a healthier body in.
Yeah, which is exactly what they're going to be doing tonight. Max Domi and Max Pacioretty were also spotted on the ice for morning skate today. So again, not sure exactly when they're expected to return. Domi can come back at any point. He was just on injured reserve, and when he's good to go, he could return. Pacioretty, I believe December 7th, I think is the date that he'll be eligible to come back and play for the Maple Leafs, but I'm not sure if that's where his timeline is at, I guess. But seeing him on the ice was obviously good to see. So, the Leafs are getting healthier, right? Matthews already came back. Or they're getting healthy up front. Now the D are starting to get hurt, I guess, with McCabe and Hakanpaa. But, we're getting Knies came back. Matthews is back. Domi and Pacioretty on the ice. Camp skated on his own today also. He's been out for a couple of weeks. So up front, they're starting to get a little healthier. On the back end now, they're starting to lose some bodies. So it's been a bit of a grind early on for the Maple Leafs this season. There's been some injury adversity for sure, but they've been able to skate right through it and play right through it. And I'd imagine tonight will be no different. Taking on the Chicago Blackhawks, it's not a world beater team, although Toronto has struggled mightily with Chicago over the last few years. Why don't we come back and let's start teeing up that game tonight? Leafs Blackhawks on Amazon Prime. It's a 7:30 puck drop. We'll tee it up for you next here on the Locked On Leafs podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Prize Picks. You can now win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. Prize Picks is the only real money daily fantasy platform with an injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. If your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live. Prize Picks put its members first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. When my picks hit, I get my money in as quick as 15 minutes. Sign up today and get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks is the best way to win real money this hockey season. Which players are going off, which ones aren't. Make your picks in less than 60 seconds and turn your sports opinions into real money all season long on Prize Picks. Download the app today. Use the promo code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 bet. Prize Picks. Run your game. Welcome back into the Locked On Leafs podcast. Mike DeStefano, Dave Morisuti with you here on the show, as we are each and every weekday, Monday through Friday on the Locked On Leafs podcast. You can find us free and available on all podcast platforms and also up on YouTube. The Maple Leafs in action tonight, taking on the Chicago Blackhawks at Scotiabank Arena. So they return home. Austin Matthews, first home game in over a month. It's been a while since Leafs faithful have been able to see him in action, but he will definitely be in the lineup tonight. as will Connor Bedard. Bedsy coming to town. Dave, is this still a big draw? Even though Bedard's struggling mightily, is it still a big, massive draw?
I think it is, and I think I remember seeing you tweet about his struggles, and then in that very same night,
He
or
scored.
I think he scored in that night. So it looks like you helped Connor Bedard get it back on track because he's had points in his last 3 games.
Yes, you're welcome. Actually, he's got 2 goals since that tweet.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
all because of you.
Yeah. He went calendar month, dude. An entire calendar month without scoring a goal. This guy's supposed to be a generational talent. Can't be going calendar month without scoring. It was like 13 straight games without a goal. And only like 2 points in like 7 games or 8 games. It wasn't going good. And it hasn't been going good for Chicago. Like, that's the thing. It's not a very good hockey team, right? Like, they're near the bottom of the standings. They're not scoring. The goaltending hasn't been terrible, actually. Peter Mrazek has been okay. The Soderblom kid who's starting tonight, he's been okay. We saw him last year, actually, play really well against Toronto in a game. But overall, like, this Blackhawks team is not very good. They played Columbus last night. They lost 6-3, so they're playing on night 2 of a back-to-back. So Toronto should be able to take advantage of a tired and bad Chicago team. But Chicago's gotten the better of Toronto in 3 straight games. That's the weird thing. The team stinks, but for some reason, it seems like they can't beat the Blackhawks. They've lost 3 in a row to this club.
Well, and you brought I was actually looking to see who started in goal last night.
I believe.
Because
Mrazek last night, it'll be Soderblom tonight.
So you know what Soderblom did the last time he played against Toronto.
I know.
So prepare for the Vezina level goaltending from the Blackhawks tonight. But the Leafs, yes, the Blackhawks have struggled, but a few nights ago they walloped the Stars 6-2. Right, like they're a team that if you don't take them serious, Taylor Hall could score a hat trick on you, which he ended up doing in that game as well. So, there's going to be some former Leafs in this game too. Tyler Bertuzzi, he's going to be looking to get a nice little game against his former team. TJ Brody, right? I'm interested to see how TJ Brody plays against Leafs. Like that's a matchup I'm very curious about who does he get matched up against in this one. And it's not a great team, but there are some there is some talent there. They're gonna have to be weary of, and I think there's gonna be so much Bedard talk though.
And it's an Amazon Prime game, which I think a big reason why, like, they're trying to push these games in the States, right?
Oh yeah.
So you've got Canada, or you've got Connor Bedard versus Austin Matthews, like 2 of the top marketable players in the NHL right now, right? You got the next one in Connor Bedard, who plays for an Original 6 big American market in Chicago, against the top American player in the world playing for the number 1 Canadian market and the number 1 hockey market in the world, the Toronto Maple Leafs. Like, it's a marquee game in terms of Bedsy versus Matthews. Like, it is sellable for sure. But it should be one the Maple Leafs should be able to win. Now, they haven't been able to win these games in the past, obviously, but that was the Sheldon Keefe Leafs, Dave. That was the Sheldon Keefe Leafs. I feel much stronger going into this matchup against Chicago tonight with Toronto and the. I would say, like, it's a team they're playing on they're playing very consistent under Berube, and it seems like every night you're getting a pretty quality play out of this club.
Yeah, like how many games have they played this year where they were the favorite team and they got surprised with the team? Maybe Columbus and Ottawa. Like those are 2 teams like that, struggling teams that the Leafs just didn't take advantage of. They've done a pretty good job. Like you look at what Utah curses, or the Arizona, Phoenix, whatever curse you want to talk about, that got put to bed. You look at some of the teams that they played over this streak, like they have taken advantage of some teams that have struggled. They've also played very well at home. They haven't had
10-3 at home this year.
Yeah, their last loss was against Ottawa, right? In
Yeah.
that Ottawa game. Like they've been very good at home. So there's a lot of things lining up, and you got Matthews back, Knies is back. Yes, I know that McCabe is out, but there's a game maybe you can maybe hold out Jake McCabe for. It's probably this one against Chicago.
Yeah. Legit. Yeah. Like if there was one team who you should be able to shut, like there's no depth on Chicago. You've got Bedard and really like even Taylor Hall got healthy scratched a couple weeks ago. Well, so like there's not a whole lot that's going to scare you. Let's take a look at what the Leafs lineup is going to look like tonight, though. We'll take a look at the matchups and what the Leafs, I guess, put out there for morning skate. We talked a lot about the forward groups. The defensive pairing is obviously going to look a little different today, too, due to the injury. But we're looking at the forward group right now. We've got Knies, Matthews, and Nylander, Holmberg, Tavares, and Marner, Robertson, Minton, and Lorentz, and then Grabenkin, Connor Dewar, and Alex Nylander will round out your top four lines for the Maple Leafs. And defensively, Dave, what are we looking at for the blue line?
Yeah, so it looks like Ulrich Larson will get the assignment with Chris Tanev. Not surprising, replace the left shot with the left shot. You keep Riley.
Are you a little surprised that they didn't just go back to Riley Tanev? I was.
I think they want to. I think they want to keep Riley away from those pure defensive matchups. Like they want to utilize him more in the offensive end of things, right? So you got Larson, Albrecht Larson with Chris Tanev. Morgan Riley will be paired with Philip Myers, and then Simon Benoit will remain with Connor Timmins, and then Marshall Refi is the extra guy.
Isn't it hilarious though? Like all off season, we were talking about, finally got a partner for Riley, and now it's like, well, we don't want to play Riley with Tanev because we don't want to put him in those defensive situations.
It's like that's why you got Tanev, so Riley could be in those defense situations and have some help. I think Bruba's just playing he liked that Tanev McCabe pairing so well. And look, we'll see if Ekman Larsson's able to handle that too, because that's a tough assignment for him, right? And he was playing a lot at the end of that third period, and he was victimized by that stupid
cross check.
Yeah, even though he wasn't even the one that initiated it all.
Yeah. Always ends up going to the guy who does it back. The second man always gets called on that one, unfortunately. But yeah, so that's what they're looking like, and I believe Anthony Stolarz is going to get the night tonight. So Stolarz going back to it. So it's not as though they're riding with the hot hand yet. It's still very much a timeshare right now between the two goalies. We'll see at some point, does one of Woolly or was it Woolley and Stoley? Yeah. We'll see if one of those two can grab the net and take it for a little ride, I guess, at some point here if they decide to ride a hot. And I don't think it's going to take a hot hand. It's got to take one to struggle, and hopefully that doesn't happen. Because this is turning into very, very reminiscent to what they've seen in Boston over the last couple of years with their goaltending situation, where it's just two hot goalies and they've just been running them, together in sync and alternating them throughout the season. Both of them playing well, winning William Jennings. Maple Leafs could turn out to have a very similar situation this year as well. So they roll with Anthony Stolarz in this one tonight to take on the Blackhawks. Once again, it's a 7:30 puck drop, and it's not going to be on TSN, not going to be on Sportsnet. It's an Amazon Prime game, so hopefully you do got yourself some Prime or, good luck watching the game tonight. We've already aired our grievances on the Prime stuff, so we don't need to go into that.
We're not rehashing that. You guys can all complain in the comment section, though.
Yeah, we don't need to hash that out anymore. Really quickly, World Junior Camp attendees, invitees have been announced with World Junior Camp kicking off in the next couple of days. And our boy, Easton Cowan, got an invite. Shouldn't surprise anyone. He is one of the best players for Canada at the juniors, at the junior level, across all three of the junior leagues. I'd imagine he would have an opportunity to maybe even be a captain this year, possibly for the group. With Fraser Minton captained the team last year, possibly we can get another Maple Leafs prospect to captain the team this year. His streak's still going on, isn't it?
It is. He missed. He was out of the lineup, but it kept. I mean, the streak is as long as he's playing, right?
Right.
So
It's like 50 something games now, isn't it? With a
he,
point.
yeah. So it is. It was like 50. It was at like 53 games, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, he's
Like he
only a
passed.
couple away from breaking the record, I think.
Yeah. So it's been. He's had such a good year. Um, the thing is, like the OHL, technically, the league is not technically celebrating it because it's been carried over from a couple of seasons, right? It's not a single season streak, which
Right.
okay, sure, that's fine. But I mean, the way he's going, he might just keep the streak going forever. Yeah, it's 54 games right now.
Yeah. I think what's 56 the record? Like technically the
Yeah,
record?
it's the
Yeah.
longest unofficial streak since Doug Gilmour had 55.
55. So he's a game away. Game away from tying it, 2 away from breaking it.
Yeah.
He's got 14 goals in 18 games so far. So yeah, Easton Cowan, pretty good. Pretty good player, I would say.
Mhm.
So he'll probably end up he'll definitely end up suiting up, assuming he's healthy, for the Team Canada at the World Junior Championships. He's been invited to the camp. We'll also have the Four Nations roster reveals on Wednesday. I think tomorrow's show, we're going to have to put together our Team Canada roster prediction because that's
Mhm.
coming out on Wednesday. So we'll have our official prediction out on Tuesday, and then we'll see if we were right or not. We'll see how many Maple Leafs could possibly make some of these rosters. So we'll do that on tomorrow's show. But that'll do it for us here today on the podcast. I'd like to thank you all for listening and supporting the show. You can subscribe to the Locked On Leafs podcast on all platforms and receive daily Leafs content. Follow myself on Twitter at Mickey_Canuck. Follow Dave at _Morisuti and follow the show as well at Locked On Leafs. We'll be back with another episode for you guys tomorrow. Go Leafs, go. Until then, keep it locked right here on Locked On Leafs.